The morning alarm rang across the mining station at exactly 6 o'clock. Commander Park Jinu rolled out of his bed and looked through the small window of his quarters. The twin suns of Kepler 442c were rising over the rocky hills, painting the sky in soft orange and pink colors. Jinu had been the commander of this outpost for 8 years now. He was a calm man in his 40s with graying hair and steady hands. The miners and scientists under his command respected him because he treated everyone fairly and never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. The outpost was home to 847 people. It sat in a valley between two mountain ranges on a planet that was mostly rock and metal. The air was breathable thanks to the terraforming machines that had been working for 20 years. Small patches of earth grass grew around the main buildings, and a few oak trees provided shade near the cafeteria. Kim Daeho, the chief engineer, was already awake and checking the mining equipment. He was a short, stocky man who knew every bolt and wire in the facility. His team had kept the massive drilling machines running without major problems for 5 years straight. The machines dug deep into the planet's crust, pulling out rare metals that Earth needed for building spaceships and computers. Dr. Lee Nari finished her morning coffee and headed to the medical center. She was the only doctor on the outpost, but that was usually enough. Most injuries were minor cuts and bruises from the mining work. The worst case she had handled was when a worker broke his leg in a cave-in 2 years ago. Life on Kepler 442c was peaceful and predictable. Choi Minho sat in the communications room, monitoring the long-range sensors. He was barely 25 years old and had joined the outpost straight from the Earth Defense Academy. His job was to maintain contact with Earth and watch for any unusual activity in space around the planet. In 8 years, the most exciting thing he had seen was a small asteroid that passed close to the planet. The daily routine began like any other day. Workers headed to the mines in groups of 20, their heavy boots echoing in the underground tunnels. Scientists took samples of rocks and plants, looking for anything that might be useful to Earth. The farming team tended to the small greenhouses that provided fresh vegetables for everyone. Yoon Hana, the security chief, made her morning rounds. She carried a simple stunner on her belt, more for protection against the planet's few wild animals than any real threat. The outpost had basic defensive systems, but they were designed to keep out dangerous weather, not enemy ships. Nobody expected trouble this far from the main shipping routes. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with quiet conversation. The miners talked about their work and shared jokes. The scientists discussed their latest discoveries. Families with children planned weekend trips to the nearby lake. It felt like a small town on Earth, just with 2 suns and purple mountains in the distance. Jinu ate his meal while reading reports on his tablet. Production was up 3% from last month. The new mining shaft was ahead of schedule. Dr. Nari had filed a request for better medical equipment, which he approved. Everything was running smoothly. After lunch, Minho noticed something unusual on his sensors. There were faint energy readings coming from the edge of the solar system. He checked his equipment twice, then ran a full diagnostic. The readings were still there, but they were so weak he couldn't tell what was causing them. "Commander," Minho called over the intercom, "I'm picking up some strange signals from Sector 7. It might be a ship, but it's too far away to be sure." Jinu came to the communications room and looked at the displays. The readings were definitely there, but they could be anything. Space was full of radiation and energy from stars and planets. Sometimes metal asteroids gave off similar signals. "Keep monitoring it," Jinu said. "If it gets closer or stronger, let me know right away." The afternoon passed quietly. The miners brought up another load of valuable metals. The farming team harvested tomatoes and lettuce from the greenhouses. Children played games in the recreation center while their parents worked. As evening approached, the strange signals grew stronger. Miho called Jinu back to the communications room. This time the readings were clear enough to identify. "Sir, those are definitely ships," Minho said, his voice tight with worry. "At least 3 of them, maybe more. They're heading straight for us." Jinu studied the sensor data. The ships were still days away, but they were coming fast. Too fast for merchant vessels or scientific expeditions. He had never seen ships move like that before. "Try to contact them," Jinu ordered. "Send the standard greeting and ask for their identification." Minho sent the message on all frequencies. They waited for an answer, but only silence came back. He tried again with different languages and communication protocols. Still nothing. Jinu called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Daeho, Nari, Minho, and Hana gathered in the conference room. The mood was tense but not panicked. They had drilled for emergencies, though none of them had ever expected to use those drills. "We have unknown ships approaching," Jinu explained. "They're not responding to our communications, and they're moving too fast to be friendly traders. We need to prepare for the worst," Hana spoke first. "Our defenses are basic. We have some shield generators and a few weapon platforms, but they're designed to destroy asteroids, not fight enemy ships." Daeho nodded grimly. "I can boost power to the shields and weapons, but if they have military-grade equipment, we won't last long." Dr. Nari looked worried. "Should we evacuate the non-essential personnel? The families with children?" Jinu considered this. Where would they go? "Our transport ships are too slow to outrun whatever's coming. We're safer if we stay together and hope these visitors are peaceful." They spent the next hour preparing. Daeho redirected power from the mining equipment to the defensive systems. Hana organized the security team and distributed the few weapons they had. Minho kept trying to contact the approaching ships. As night fell over the outpost, the unknown vessels were still 2 days away. Most of the colonists went to sleep unaware of the danger approaching. Only a few people knew about the ships, and Jinu wanted to keep it that way until he knew more. He stood on the observation deck looking up at the stars. For 8 years, this outpost had been a symbol of human progress and hope. They were building something good here, far from Earth's wars and problems. Now strangers were coming, and he didn't know if they came in peace or war. The twin moons rose over the mountains, casting silver light on the quiet buildings below. Tomorrow would bring answers, but tonight the outpost slept peacefully under alien stars. The attack came at dawn, just as the first sun was rising over the mountains. Commander Park Jinu was drinking his morning coffee when the entire outpost shook violently. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the facility. "All hands to emergency stations." Jinu's voice echoed through the intercom system. "This is not a drill!" 3 massive ships hung in the sky above the outpost like dark clouds. They were unlike anything humans had ever built, with curved hulls that seemed to absorb light and weapon ports that glowed with dangerous energy. The ships belonged to the Velkari Empire, though the humans didn't know this yet. Choi Minho was already at his station in the communications room when the first blast hit. The main communication tower exploded in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. He quickly switched to backup systems and began sending out distress signals on every frequency he could reach. "Mayday, Mayday!" Minho spoke rapidly into his microphone. "This is Human Outpost Kepler 442C. We are under attack by unknown forces. Repeat, we are under attack." The message raced through space toward Earth, but it would take weeks to arrive. For now, the outpost was completely alone. War leader Thex commanded the largest of the attacking ships. He was a tall reptilian creature with scales that changed color with his emotions. Right now, they were deep red with battle fury. To him, these humans were invaders who had stolen Velkari territory. It didn't matter that his people had abandoned this system centuries ago. "Destroy their weapons first," Thex ordered his crew. "Then we will finish them slowly." Battle Commander Vorth, his second-in-command, felt less certain about this attack. The humans had sent peaceful greeting messages for hours before the assault began. They seemed to be simple miners and farmers, not warriors. But Thex was his superior, and orders were orders. Back on the surface, Security Chief Yoon Hana was organizing the defense. She had only 30 security guards and weapons designed for crowd control, not space battles. The outpost's defensive systems were already firing back at the alien ships, but their energy beams barely scratched the enemy hulls. "Fall back to the main building," Hana shouted over the noise of explosions. "Protect the civilians." Chief Engineer Kim Daeho ran through the facility's corridors, trying to keep the power systems working. Every few minutes, another blast would knock out generators or damage power lines. He and his team worked frantically to reroute electricity to the shields and weapons. "The main reactor is overheating," one of his assistants called out. "If we push it much harder, it might explode." Daeho wiped sweat from his forehead. "Keep it running. Without power, we're all dead anyway." Dr. Lee Nari set up emergency medical stations in the main building's basement. Injured people were already being brought in. Workers caught in the open when the attack began. Security guards burned by alien energy weapons. She worked quickly to treat burns and broken bones, but she knew she was fighting a losing battle. Commander Jinu tried desperately to contact the attacking ships. He stood in what remained of the communications center, speaking into a damaged microphone. Unknown vessels, this is Commander Park Ji-nu of the human mining outpost. We are peaceful civilians. We have no military purpose here. Please respond. The only answer was another barrage of energy blasts that shook the building and shattered windows. Ji-nu realized with growing horror that the aliens weren't interested in talking. They had come to kill. The battle raged for hours. The outpost's weapons managed to damage one of the smaller alien ships, but it quickly retreated behind the others. The humans fought bravely, but they were miners and farmers, not soldiers. Their equipment was designed for building and growing, not for war. In the underground tunnels, families huddled together in terror. Parents held their children close and whispered that everything would be okay, even though they could hear the explosions getting closer. The mining equipment that had been their livelihood now served as poor shelter against alien weapons. Yoon Hana's security team made their last stand in the main building. They had only a handful of weapons left, and ammunition was running low. Through the broken windows, they could see alien soldiers landing outside. The creatures wore powered armor and carried weapons that could melt through steel. "Hold the line," Hana ordered, though she knew it was hopeless. "Don't let them reach the civilians." The alien soldiers moved through the outpost like a plague. They showed no mercy to anyone they found, killing wounded defenders and terrified workers alike. Their orders were simple: leave no humans alive to tell other humans what had happened here. Kim Dae-ho died trying to protect the main reactor. He fought 3 alien soldiers with only a wrench in his bare hands before they cut him down with energy weapons. The reactor exploded minutes later, plunging most of the outpost into darkness. Dr. Lee Nari was treating a wounded child when the aliens found her medical station. She stood between them and her patients, holding a surgical laser like a weapon. "You won't hurt them," she shouted. The aliens killed her without hesitation, then finished off everyone she had been trying to save. Choi Min-ho kept sending distress signals until the very end. Even as alien soldiers stormed into the communications room, he kept talking into his microphone, hoping someone in the vast darkness of space would hear humanity's last words from this world. "Remember us," he whispered, as an energy blast ended his life. Commander Ji-nu was one of the last to die. He had gathered the remaining survivors in the main building's upper floors, trying to organize one final defense. When the aliens broke through, he stepped forward to face them alone. "I am Commander Park Ji-nu," he said with dignity. "I surrender this facility. Show mercy to my people." War Leader Thex had come down to the surface personally to witness the victory. He looked at the human commander with cold reptilian eyes. "Your people should never have come here," Thex said in his own language, which the human couldn't understand. "This is Valkyrie space, and you are invaders." Ji-nu couldn't understand the words, but he could see the hatred in the alien's eyes. He closed his eyes and thought of Earth, of the blue skies and green fields he would never see again. The massacre was complete within 6 hours. 847 human beings lay dead in the ruins of their peaceful outpost. The Valkyrie soldiers destroyed all the buildings and equipment, leaving only smoking rubble behind. As the 3 alien ships departed, they left no trace of the colony that had existed here. The greenhouses were burned, the mining equipment was melted slag, and the small oak trees that had provided shade were nothing but ash. In the silence that followed, only the wind moved through the ruins. The twin suns continued their eternal dance across the sky, but they now shone down on a graveyard instead of a home. Far above, in the cold vacuum of space, an automated distress beacon continued transmitting Choi Min-ho's last message toward Earth. It would take 3 weeks for the signal to reach humanity's home system, but when it did, it would carry news that would change everything. The peaceful age of human expansion was over. War had come to the stars, and it had claimed its first victims. The dead of Kepler 442c would not be forgotten, and they would not go unavenged. 3 weeks after the massacre on Kepler 442c, a tired communications officer at Earth Defense Command noticed an unusual signal coming through the quantum relay network. Lieutenant Park Sun-ho had been working the night shift for 2 years, and most of his job involved routine status reports from human colonies across the galaxy. This signal was different. It was weak and broken, transmitted through emergency protocols that hadn't been used in over a decade. As he cleaned up the static and enhanced the audio, his blood turned cold. "Mayday, mayday. This is human outpost Kepler 442c. We are under attack by unknown forces." Repeat, we are under attack. The voice belonged to a young man who sounded terrified but determined. In the background, Park Sun-ho could hear explosions and screaming. The message continued for several minutes, describing alien ships and weapons, before ending abruptly with the words, "Remember us." Park Sun-ho immediately called his superior, Admiral Kang Hyuk. The admiral was a veteran of Earth's last war, fought against rebels in the outer colonies 40 years ago. He was known for his calm judgment and steady nerves, but when he heard the recording, his face turned pale. "Get me Director Shin Yura from Colonial Affairs," Admiral Kang ordered. "Then contact President Bae Suman's office. Tell them we have a code black emergency." Within an hour, the highest levels of Earth's government were meeting in the underground war room beneath the capital city of New Geneva. President Bae Suman arrived still wearing her evening dress from a diplomatic dinner. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had led Earth through 15 years of peace and prosperity. "Play the message," she ordered. The room fell silent as Choi Minho's voice filled the air. Everyone present could hear the desperation and courage in the young man's words. When the recording ended, several people in the room had tears in their eyes. Director Shin Yura spoke first. Kepler 442c was established 8 years ago. Population 847 civilians. They were mining rare metals and conducting terraforming research. No military presence whatsoever. General Oh Tae-yang, the head of Earth's ground forces, studied the technical data. The attackers used advanced energy weapons and showed no interest in communication or negotiation. This was pure aggression. Fleet Admiral Lim Chae-won had been quiet until now. She was responsible for Earth's space navy, which had grown large during the decades of peaceful expansion. Most of her ships were designed for exploration and trade protection, not war. "We need to know who did this," she said firmly, "and we need to make sure they understand the consequences." Intelligence analyst Seo Ji-won had been working frantically to trace the attackers. She was a young woman who specialized in alien technology and had studied every known spacefaring species. Using the sensor data from the Outpost, she had made a disturbing discovery. "The energy signatures match the Velkari Empire," she reported. "They're a militaristic species from the Andromeda sector. We've had no previous contact with them, but our deep space probes have identified their territory." Science advisor Dr. Nam Young-soo pulled up star charts on the main display. The Velkari homeworld is called Vel Tarth. It's located 127 light-years from Earth in the Zeta Reticuli system. Population approximately 12 billion. President Bae Suman studied the information carefully. She had spent her entire career trying to keep humanity out of wars. But this attack changed everything. 847 innocent people were dead, killed without warning or provocation. "What are our military options?" she asked. Fleet Admiral Lim Chae-won activated another display showing Earth's current military strength. "We have 2,400 ships of various sizes, but most are lightly armed. Our real strength is our industrial capacity. We can build a proper war fleet in a matter of months." General Oh Tae-yang nodded. "Our Marine Corps is small but well-trained. More importantly, we can convert civilian manufacturing to military production faster than any other known species. It's a legacy of our industrial revolution on Earth." Admiral Kang Hyuk looked around the room. "We need to consider the bigger picture. This wasn't just an attack on one outpost. It was a test. The Velkari wanted to see how we would react to aggression. If we do nothing, other species will see us as weak." The debate continued for hours. Some argued for a diplomatic response, trying to contact the Velkari government and demand justice. Others called for immediate military action. President Bae Suman listened to all viewpoints before making her decision. "The Velkari killed 847 of our people without provocation or warning," she said finally. "They showed no mercy to civilians, including children. If we respond with weakness, we invite more attacks on our colonies." She stood and faced the assembled leaders. "I'm authorizing the largest military mobilization in human history. We will build a fleet capable of reaching Velkari space and delivering a message they will never forget." The room erupted in activity. Fleet Admiral Lim Chae-won began drawing up plans for ship construction. General Oh Tae-yang started organizing marine units for a possible invasion. Intelligence analyst Seo Ji-won worked to gather more information about Velkari technology and tactics. Dr. Nam Young-soo calculated the resources needed for such a massive undertaking. "We'll need to convert 70% of our civilian shipyards to military production. The cost will be enormous, but it's technically possible." Director Shin-Yura raised a concern. What about our other colonies? If we're mobilizing for war, they'll want to know why. President Bae Suman had already considered this. We'll tell them the truth. Humanity has been attacked, and we're going to respond. Every colony needs to understand that we protect our own. Over the next few days, news of the massacre spread throughout human space. The reaction was immediate and unanimous: outrage. Colonists who had never seen war demanded justice for their murdered brothers and sisters. Industrial workers volunteered for overtime shifts to build weapons and ships. The Earth's shipyards, which had been producing peaceful cargo vessels and exploration ships, began converting to military production. Engineers worked around the clock to design new weapons and armor. The same creativity that had built humanity's galactic civilization now turned toward creating instruments of war. Admiral Kang Hyuk was chosen to lead the military response. He had experience, wisdom, and the respect of every officer in the fleet. His first decision was to promote Captain Ryu Jae-hyun to command the new flagship that would spearhead the attack. Ryu Jae-hyun was a career naval officer who had served on exploration missions for 15 years. He was known for his tactical brilliance and calm leadership under pressure. Now he would have the chance to test those skills in actual combat. As construction began on the war fleet, President Bae Suman addressed the human nation from her office in New Geneva. Her words were broadcast to every colony and ship in human space. "Fellow citizens," she began, "we have lived in peace for generations. We have explored the galaxy with open hands and hopeful hearts. But peace must be earned, and sometimes it must be defended with strength." She paused, looking directly into the camera. 847 of our people died on Kepler 442c. They were miners and scientists, teachers and farmers. They were building a better future for all humanity when aliens murdered them in cold blood. Her voice grew harder. Today we begin our response. We will show the galaxy that humanity protects its own. We will demonstrate that aggression against peaceful humans carries a terrible price. The speech ended with a simple promise. The dead of Kepler 442c will be remembered, and they will be avenged. Across human space, millions of people watched their leader's words with grim satisfaction. The age of peaceful expansion was over. The age of human warfare had begun. The transformation of human civilization from peaceful to warlike happened with frightening speed. Within days of President Bae Suman's speech, every major shipyard in the solar system was working day and night to build weapons of war. Fleet Admiral Lim Chae-won stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching hundreds of ships taking shape in the orbital yards. What had once been construction sites for cargo haulers and passenger liners now buzzed with the creation of destroyers, cruisers, and massive dreadnoughts. "How long until the first wave is ready?" asked Chief Designer An Borum, a brilliant engineer who had spent her career designing peaceful spacecraft. Now her talents were focused on creating the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. 6 weeks for the destroyers, 10 weeks for the heavy cruisers, and 12 weeks for the flagship, Lim Chae-won replied. It would have taken other species years to accomplish what we're doing in months. The secret of humanity's rapid military buildup lay in their industrial philosophy. For centuries, humans had built massive automated factories and standardized production systems. A shipyard that could build a cargo hauler could easily be retooled to build a warship. The same robots that welded civilian hulls could weld armor plating with equal skill. Strategic planner Song Min-sok worked around the clock in the War Planning Center, designing the campaign that would bring justice to the Valkyrie. He was a quiet man who had spent his career studying theoretical warfare. Now his theories would be tested in the real world. The Valkyrie have 47 star systems under their control, he explained to the assembled military leaders. Their technology is advanced but specialized for fighting primitive opponents. They've never faced an industrial power like humanity. Song Min-suk's plan was simple but devastating. The human fleet would strike directly at the Valkyrie homeworld with overwhelming force. There would be no gradual escalation, no warnings, no mercy. The attack would be so swift and complete that other alien species would understand never to threaten humanity again. Captain Ryu Jae-hyun arrived at the Mars orbital yards to take command of his new flagship. The ship was called the New Soul, and it was the largest vessel humanity had ever constructed. At 2 kilometers long, it carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets of enemy ships. "She's beautiful," said Navigation Officer Park Silgi as they approached the massive vessel in a shuttle. Park Silgi was a young woman who had navigated exploration ships to the furthest reaches of human space. Now she would guide humanity's most powerful weapon to war. The New Soul's crew included some of the finest officers in the human fleet. Weapons specialist Ko Dong-min had designed many of the ship's advanced weapon systems himself. Marine Commander Jung So-min led 5,000 elite soldiers who were trained for boarding actions and planetary assault. As the weeks passed, more ships joined the growing fleet. Each vessel was equipped with the latest human technology, much of it originally designed for peaceful purposes but now adapted for war. Mining lasers became ship-killing weapons. Cargo containers were converted into missile launchers. Even the artificial intelligence systems that ran civilian ships were reprogrammed for combat. The human military doctrine emphasized speed, overwhelming firepower, and technological superiority. Unlike many alien species that relied on massive numbers of simple ships, humans built fewer vessels but made each one incredibly powerful and adaptable. Dr. Nam Young-soo worked with teams of scientists to develop new weapons specifically for the Valkyrie campaign. They created kinetic projectiles that could punch through any known armor, plasma cannons that could melt entire city blocks, and electronic warfare systems that could disable enemy computers from light years away. The Valkyrie won't know what hit them, Dr. Nam Young-soo told President Bae Suman during a briefing. Our technology is at least 50 years ahead of theirs in most areas. They built their military to conquer primitive worlds, not to fight equals. Intelligence analyst Seo Ji-won continued gathering information about the Valkyrie Empire. Her network of deep space probes and communication intercepts painted a picture of a stagnant civilization that had grown, comfortable ruling over weaker species. They've had the same basic technology for centuries, she reported. Their ships are powerful but old-fashioned. Their tactics rely on intimidation and brute force. They've never faced an opponent who could match their technological capabilities. The psychological preparation was as important as the technical preparation. Admiral Kang Hyok met with every ship captain personally, explaining the mission and ensuring they understood the stakes. We're not just fighting for revenge, he told them. We're establishing humanity's place in the galactic order. Every alien species will be watching to see how we respond to aggression. We must show them that humans are not to be trifled with. Captain Ryu Jae-hyun spent long hours studying Valkyrie tactics and technology. He understood that this battle would set the tone for humanity's future in space. If they showed weakness, more attacks would follow. If they demonstrated overwhelming strength, other species would think twice before threatening human colonies. The crews trained constantly during the construction period. Weapons teams practiced targeting exercises. Marines rehearsed boarding actions. Navigation officers learned to coordinate massive fleet movements. Everyone understood that they were preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. Chief designer An Borum made final adjustments to the fleet's weapon systems. She had created devastating new technologies by combining peaceful human innovations in unexpected ways. Terraforming equipment became planetary bombardment tools. Mining technology became ship-killing weapons. Every system has multiple functions, she explained to the weapons officers. If one method doesn't work, try another. Human engineering is about adaptability and problem-solving. Use that advantage. As the fleet neared completion, strategic planner Song Min-seok finalized the attack plan. The human force would jump directly into Valkyrie space without warning. They would destroy any military vessels they encountered, then proceed to the homeworld for the final confrontation. Speed is everything, he emphasized. The longer we take, the more time they have to prepare defenses or call for help. We hit them fast and hard, then finish the job before they can recover. Fleet Admiral Lim Chae-won inspected the completed vessels as they prepared for departure. The fleet consisted of 200 ships, from small destroyers to the massive dreadnought New Seoul. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of human technology and engineering skill. The crews were ready. The weapons were tested. The battle plans were memorized. All that remained was the journey to Valkyrie space and the confrontation that would determine humanity's future among the stars. On the day of departure, President Bae Suman addressed the fleet from the bridge of the New Seoul. Her image appeared on screens throughout the 200 ships, speaking to 50,000 military personnel who would carry out humanity's vengeance. You are humanity's sword and shield, she told them. You carry with you the hopes of every human colony, the memory of every victim of Velkari aggression, and the promise of a secure future for our species." She paused, looking at the assembled officers on the bridge. "Go now, and show the galaxy what happens when humanity is provoked to war." The fleet departed Earth space in perfect formation, their engines blazing against the darkness of space. Behind them lay a civilization that had been peaceful for generations. Ahead lay an alien empire that had never faced an opponent like humanity. The journey to Velkari space would take 3 months. During that time, the crews would continue training and preparing for the battle that would change galactic history. They carried with them the most advanced weapons ever created by human hands and the determination to honor their fallen comrades. Admiral Kang Hyuk stood on the bridge of the New Sol, watching the stars ahead. Somewhere in that darkness lay the Velkari homeworld, and 12 billion aliens who had no idea what was coming for them. The human fleet moved through space like a predator hunting its prey. For 3 months, 200 ships carrying 50,000 personnel traveled toward Velkari space with deadly purpose. Every day brought them closer to a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of human power. Captain Ryu Jae-hyun stood on the bridge of the New Sol, studying star charts that showed their position relative to the Velkari Empire. They were still weeks away from their target, but already they were entering the outer regions where Velkari patrol ships might be found. "Contact ahead," reported Navigation Officer Park Solgi, her fingers dancing across her control panel. 3 ships Velkari design moving on an intercept course. Admiral Kang Hyuk joined Ryu Jae-hyun at the tactical display. The enemy vessels were small patrol cruisers probably on routine border duty. They had no idea they were about to encounter the largest human war fleet ever assembled. "Battle stations," Admiral Kang ordered calmly. "All ships prepare for engagement." Throughout the fleet, alarms sounded as 50,000 humans prepared for their first taste of combat against the species that had murdered their colonists. Weapons specialist Ko Dong-min powered up the New Sol's main batteries. Enough firepower to level a city. The Velkari patrol ships sent a challenge message in their own language, demanding identification from the approaching human vessels. Intelligence officer Han Yu-jin, who had spent months studying Velkari communications, translated their words. "They're ordering us to stop and explain our presence in their territory," she reported. Standard border patrol protocol. Admiral Kang's response was swift and merciless. "Open fire. No survivors." The human fleet unleashed a devastating barrage that turned 3 Velkari ships into expanding clouds of debris in less than 30 seconds. The enemy vessels had been designed to intimidate primitive species, not fight advanced human warships. Their shields collapsed instantly, and their hulls were torn apart by kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. "Enemy vessels destroyed," Ko Dong-min reported with grim satisfaction. "No human casualties." As the fleet continued deeper into Velkari space, they encountered more patrol groups. Each engagement followed the same pattern: brief contact, overwhelming human firepower, total enemy destruction. The Velkari technology that had seemed so advanced when attacking defenseless miners proved laughably inadequate against proper military vessels. During the journey, Intelligence Officer Han Yu-jin worked tirelessly to intercept and decode Velkari communications. Her discoveries grew more disturbing with each passing day. She finally requested a private meeting with Admiral Kang and Captain Ryu Jae-hyun. "Sir, I've been monitoring Velkari government communications," she reported in the Admiral's quarters. "The attack on our outpost was not authorized by their central command." Admiral Kang set down his coffee cup, his expression darkening. "Explain." Han Yu-jin activated a holographic display showing intercepted messages. War leader Thax acted without orders. He believed attacking humans would bring him glory and advance his military career. The Velkari government only learned about the massacre after it happened. Captain Ryu Jae-hyun studied the intelligence data. "Are you saying this was the unauthorized action of one rogue commander?" "Yes, sir. The Velkari High Council has been trying to establish communication with Earth for weeks. They want to apologize and offer compensation. They're terrified of the fleet they know is coming." Admiral Kang considered this information carefully. It changed nothing about their mission, but it did add moral complexity to what they were about to do. The Velkari government might be innocent of ordering the attack, but their failure to control their military had led to the deaths of 847 humans. "What's the current status of war leader Thex?" Admiral Kang asked. "Executed by his own government 2 weeks ago," Han Yujin replied. "They're desperately trying to show Earth that they've punished the responsible parties." Captain Ryu Jae-hyun felt a moment of doubt. "Sir, if the Velkari government is innocent and has already executed the guilty parties, should we reconsider our mission parameters?" Admiral Kang stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars ahead. "Our orders come directly from President Bae Suman. We are to make an example that the galaxy will never forget. The Velkari government's innocence doesn't change the fact that their military killed our people." He turned back to face his officers. "More importantly, every alien species in the galaxy is watching to see how humanity responds to aggression. If we show mercy to those who attack us even accidentally, we invite more attacks in the future." The fleet continued its relentless advance toward the Velkari homeworld. Along the way, they destroyed dozens of military installations and patrol fleets. The human weapons were so advanced that most engagements lasted only minutes. Velkari ships designed to intimidate primitive civilizations crumbled before human firepower like paper in a fire. Marine Commander Jung So-min prepared her troops for the final assault. She was a career soldier who had trained for planetary operations but never expected to use those skills in actual warfare. Her 5,000 Marines were the elite of human military forces, equipped with powered armor and weapons that could level buildings. "Remember what they did to our civilians," she told her assembled troops. "No mercy, no prisoners. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who will ever live among the stars." As they approached the Velkari home system, long-range sensors revealed the full scope of their target. Veltarth was a beautiful world of blue oceans and green continents, home to 12 billion Velkari civilians who had nothing to do with the attack on human colonists. Strategic planner Song Min-seok presented the final battle plan to the fleet commanders. It was comprehensive and merciless, designed to destroy the Velkari civilization completely and demonstrate human power to any alien species that might be watching. Phase 1, eliminate all orbital defenses and military vessels, he explained. Phase 2, destroy all major cities and military installations on the planet's surface. Phase 3, render the planet uninhabitable through atmospheric processing. Captain Ryu Jae-hyun felt the weight of what they were about to do. They weren't just attacking a military target. They were about to commit genocide against an entire civilization. But his orders were clear, and he understood the strategic necessity of making an example. "Sir," Marine Commander Jung So-min asked quietly, "what about civilian evacuations? Surely we can give them time to flee the planet?" Admiral Kang's expression was stone cold. "Our people on Kepler 442c received no such mercy. Children and families were murdered without warning. The Velkari will receive the same consideration they showed our colonists. Intelligence." Officer Han Yujin intercepted frantic communications from the Velkari government as the human fleet entered their home system. The aliens were broadcasting surrender offers, peace negotiations, and desperate pleas for mercy on every frequency they could access. They're offering to surrender their entire military, pay reparations, and accept human oversight of their government, she reported. They're willing to do anything to avoid destruction. Admiral Kang listened to the translation of Velkari surrender offers without emotion. Respond with silence. They had their chance for diplomacy before they attacked our people. Now they get to experience human justice. The massive human fleet took position around Veltarth like harbingers of doom. The Velkari homeworld hung before them, beautiful and blue and totally defenseless against the firepower humanity had brought to bear. From the bridge of the New Soul, Captain Ryu Jae-hyun looked down at a world that contained more sentient beings than lived in the entire human space empire. In a few hours, all of them would be dead, and the galaxy would understand that humanity was not a species to be trifled with. "All ships report ready for bombardment," Weapons Specialist Ko Dongmin announced. "Awaiting your orders, sir." Admiral Kang looked one last time at the peaceful blue world below, then gave the order that would establish humanity as the galaxy's newest apex predator. "Commence planetary bombardment. Show them what happens when humans are provoked to war."